everybody. Welcome back to Anonymous Podcast with Sara Mousa, where I speak to guests from across the UAE about topics you want to hear about. Today, I am honored to be joined by the amazing Injeel Moti. Hi, Injeel.
Hi, Sarah.
I am so excited to talk to you today. I understand that you are founder of Catch Communications. Wow, that is awesome. Please tell me your story and what inspired you to start this agency.
Amazing. First and foremost, thank you so much for having me on your wonderful podcast. Great job to you. Love the conversations and the guests you bring on. And I'm so glad I'm here today. Catch Communications came about. Really, it was just a fluke. There was no big plan. There was nothing of that sort going on. I was working in public relations and communications. So back when I started my career in 2010, we called it PR, very specific. Today it's sort of evolved to a lot more the media landscape, and there's just so more that kind of forms part of that structure. I was 26, quite honestly, at that point, 5 years into my career, jumping agencies, as you know, a lot of us tend to do in our early 20s. And kind of had a little bit of bad luck with some of the businesses I happen to be involved in, companies shutting down and things like that. That motivated me. I believe I was someone that always had that sort of entrepreneurial streak. Didn't really recognize it because, again, there wasn't so much conversation around that as there is today. Like we weren't taught entrepreneurship in schools and universities and things like that. Like today, you have courses, you've got classes and things like that specifically feeding you that information, as a young, impressionable teenager or university going student. But back then that wasn't the case. So it was really, it was a conversation with a colleague at office. We were having a rough day. We didn't know if we would, have a job the next month. And this is something that just kind of came about. It was a Word file, I remember, and I started to read about firms, people who had done similar stuff and things like that, jotted down the idea. At that point, I knew I wanted the logo to be a certain color, and I had the name in my mind. And that was it. And that's how really the journey began, and Catch came into formation. I remember very excited. I created a logo, and that's not the logo that you see today, but I created that. And it really felt like, that was the day I cemented the concept. And then the rest is history.
I love that. I love the fact that you were able to create an opportunity for yourself as an entrepreneur, knowing that it's something that wasn't, as you said, taught before. And I also love the fact that you were inspired by the failures that happened before, even though it wasn't necessarily something that you anticipated. Being able to overcome those hurdles that came your way and like allowing that to like help mold and form your path to success is so inspirational. And you just talked about kind of your first few challenges in creating this company. What else kind of stands out to you as a main challenge or obstacle in helping you create this company, and how do you feel you overcame that?
What's funny is that people assume that the challenges come in the beginning, but I don't believe they do. It's easier in the beginning because it's just you trying something out, right? And the only fear that you would possibly have is like, this might not work. And you go back to your job or find another job or whatever it might be. I have found the real challenges and things that have really, really pushed me. I came into play, I would say, 2 or 3 years into when the business was already running. We were servicing, we were active in the market, because that's when you start to grow, be it with your teams, be it with your clients, your responsibilities. At this point, you would have overheads. You're accountable for a lot more than, when you're just sitting in your bedroom with a laptop, trying to win business. So for me, challenges, I would say, started 3 years into the business. So by then I had a few members in my team. We had a decent portfolio of clients, and it's not, I wouldn't say it's one massive challenge that hits you, right? So running a business, there's something, you're firefighting every single day of your life. It could be an issue with a team member, it could be an unhappy client, it could be a supplier that hasn't delivered on something. So it's really that, and over time, I would say, how it impacts you at a personal level, right? As human beings, it contributes to a burnout, how do you deal with that? That for me, I would say has been really challenging, and also where a lot of the learning has been.
I love the fact that you are being so candid about your experience and that you talk about things like burnout. You talk about things like keeping everything just together, keep being that glue that keeps your clients happy, keeps your team happy, keeps your business developing. The fact that you didn't think that it was until 3 years into it that there was like, okay, now I really have to like show face and show people, okay, here's what I can offer you. It's world-class delivery, world-class services, and also firefighting every day. That's a real thing. Like as a founder of the company, that is your, blood, sweat, and tears. That's your heart and soul
Hmm.
in that company. So that's you are the face of that company. And as a founder of Catchcoms, as the founder of Catchcoms, was there any kind of experience or moment where you felt like something really shifted in your perspective or something really helped shape who you are as a person today?
Two occasions, actually, and if time permits, I would like to speak about both briefly. The first one would definitely be, 2020 around COVID, like the business is back broke in entirety, right? So we were set up in 2018. So by 2020, we were taking on a decent amount of work, working with some really reputed brands and things like that. And then, comes this pandemic, nobody knows what's going on. We lose our business. Like we lost, I remember March 2020, I lost 90% of my clients within a 3 week time frame. Like every day waking up to calls, emails from clients, canceling contracts, notices. And, by then, like you've got your rentals and your bills and your staff and all of that. As a 29-year-old, I didn't know how to deal with it. And it can be really, you're doing this on your own. Who do you really go out to? Who do you speak to? Who would understand your situation, and how do you know if that's the advice that's right for you or the step for your business, right? So it's a lot of like you have to tap into yourself and your value system, because when you are running a business, and especially with people involved, right, who depend on your actions and decisions for their livelihood, it's not just okay, you can be like casual about it. So I would say that that particular time period really taught me what resilience meant. Because I had a decision. Okay, you've lost all of your business anyway. Just let everybody go and cancel the leases and whatever overheads you have, and it's okay. We'll pick up. But that's not the choice I made. I made a very different choice. That's one. And number two, this is a bit more personal, but I feel like not enough leaders talk about it, right? I would say, I think at some point last year, late 22, this is now 5 years into running the business. You're basically like a hamster on a wheel. You're doing what you do every single day of your life. I didn't realize the toll it took on me personally, how burnt out I was. And I'm not saying this from a very, I read an article online and I've self-diagnosed myself, but it was an actual condition where I no longer just felt like I could function, not just at work, but anywhere in my life. And that can happen. Running a business, you have your highs and your wins, and there's people that validate you all the time. When you own and you run a business, you draw a lot um, from that. But I think keeping the focus and attention on, are you looking after yourself, or are you just putting yourself aside to continue giving into that sort of differentiation came in for me then. And I took really conscious steps, I would say last year onwards, to step back. Whether it meant making less money, whether it meant hiring more people, whatever it needed for me to do to adapt, I did. And today, definitely, I'm a much happier, calmer, relaxed person. I can do podcasts like these with you on a Friday. So I would say
I was
these
gonna
two things for
say,
sure.
you sound very calm and very happy in this conversation. Um, that is amazing though. Thank you very much for sharing those two stories. What I've taken away from that is the resilience that you've learned and being patient and persevering, knowing
Mhm.
that a hump is a hump. It's exactly that. It's temporary and you will get through it. And I also love the fact that, as you've rightly said, not a lot of leaders talk about the importance of self-love, taking care of your well-being. At the end of the day, a company's culture is top down, right? It starts for leadership. Leadership are the ones that set the example. So if leaders are working 24/7, bearing in mind all the responsibilities fair, but they are still human, how are the day-to-day employees meant to
Mm.
act? So I really appreciate you bringing that note. And that takes me to my final question for you today. What word of advice would you have for the listeners?
Um, okay, it depends who the listeners are. I would say, if you are a young individual, in that space as well, looking to start your business, because I hear this a lot, from young people today. It's almost like if you go on to TikTok, that's what 8 out of 10 people are talking about, right? Having a side hustle, generating a second income and things like that. Talk to people. I would just say that. Speak to people, speak to peers, who are maybe 5 years, 10 years older to you, have been through that journey. Your 20s, I personally believe, is one of the most toughest decades of your life, because you're just meant to figure out everything in it, but nobody tells you that, right? We're told, oh, just have fun and live your life, but I feel like it's the most defining decade. And then as you come into your 30s, you start to become the person that you're meant to be. So talk to people. If entrepreneurship is something that excites you, great. If you've got the passion for it, talk to people, learn from their experiences. This is something I wish I'd done a bit more of before I kind of went in deep diving. Um, that's number one. And two, if you are in that space already, I think imposter syndrome and the fear of failure are two things that every single human being experiences at any level. So just remind yourself that it's okay. You don't have to feel like Superman every day of your life, or Superwoman every day of your life. It's okay even if you feel that way 3 days a week and the rest you don't. So be kind to yourself.
I think that's a really important message, like, business aside, work aside, just to be kind to yourself and to know that everybody has felt the way that you feel at one point, and they probably haven't had the chance to talk to somebody about it. And it's important that we do have these conversations to show people there is a support system that's available. There is somebody else who has the same thoughts just like you, and it's important for us to help each other get through that. It's not the world is not a place where we should isolate ourselves and our problems, but rather talk about them, especially women in business. Like, we need
Mhm.
to empower each other, lift each other up, and as you're doing now, inspire each other to be the best versions of ourselves. So thank you so much for taking the time to share that powerful message today.
Thank you, Sarah. Really enjoyed talking to you. I can't believe we've already gone through 15 minutes. Gosh,
We're nothing if not
flew
efficient as
by.
communicators. Am I right? Take care. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you so much, Sarah.